Hello and welcome to The Host as Guest. Today I'm joined by the wonderful Nicole Pace, COO and co-founder of Sojourn, property management company based out of Washington, D.C. Nicole, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me today, Leo.
So Nicole, for people who don't know about Sojourn, don't know about you and your journey in the vacation rental industry, can you tell us how you got started?
Sure. So pre-Sojourn, I was a bartender at the famous Old Ebbitt Grill in Washington, D.C., which is the epitome of hospitality here in the District of Columbia. So I did have a fitting hospitality background to make my way into property management, vacation rentals, short-term rentals. And along my journey there, I discovered that probably this wasn't my forever career, but although I loved working there and it was quite a great place to be. And so I had seen a commercial for Airbnb and thought I would try it out on my apartment one weekend. So I visited my best friend in Miami and I posted my apartment on Airbnb and I made the beds nice and I cleaned it. And I didn't really think too much about like my closet and all this stuff. I just thought I would try this whole thing. And it booked like probably 2 minutes after I put it online. It was really unbelievable. And as I was flying down to Miami that weekend, I thought like, if this is like this, like I'm sure a lot of people in Washington, D.C. are going to want to do this. And the people in Washington, D.C. are very busy, usually with being lawyers and politicians, and probably wouldn't have time to be changing sheets and opening doors for people. So I thought I just thought I would start investigating things. And so a couple friends and I got together and rented some more apartments and furnished them. And they also were booking moments after you put them online. It was really remarkable how fast it was all happening. But I wasn't really interested in the whole rental arbitrage game. So I started just emailing people who were renting apartments on Zillow and asking if they would consider furnishing them and running them this way. And I met some realtors that way. And it kind of was just a really like organic networking thing. Once I met one realtor who was like, wow, this is great money. Like I met another one. And it was really interesting because not only was it, a better return on your investment, but there was a lot of eyes on your investment now, right? Like you're constantly in there keeping this place clean. And so you didn't have, they were really interested in this like longer term asset management outside of it. So, and then I met my partner, Dunzi, who called me to manage her property on Capitol Hill. She was a very busy trade attorney and mom of two young soccer superstars. And so she was not interested in managing her 6-unit. And that is really how the journey towards Sojourn started, was when I met Dunzi. And we started training in the system of like doing the hybrid type renting, which was like doing short-term during the high season, but doing like midterm rentals during the low season. And that was in late 2017, maybe early 2018 when we met. And by 2019, we realized we were such a great pair and people were wanting to work with us that we decided it was time to start a business together.
What a fabulous scene set that is, Nicole. Yeah. You're not the only founder of a vacation rental business who has that origin story, in that very, very first start. And then I think it's amazing because then your twist gets put on it. We've got very busy people in Washington, D.C., right, who are prone to wanting this done for them. At this point, what was the regulatory landscape like?
There was not one. It was certainly probably unlawful from a zoning perspective, but there was no regulation on it.
Yeah.
And what was really interesting is pre-COVID, they voted to allow short-term rentals across all zoning districts, but the next vote was to then put in the regulation. And then COVID hit. So there was this like year and a half where it was just allowed across the city because the writing of regulation and enforcement hadn't been done yet. So it was like there was none, then there was some, but it wasn't in full. And now there's real regulation.
More. Yeah. But we'll go on to talk about how the business has evolved, I'm sure, quite naturally.
Yeah.
You talk about speaking to realtors on Zillow to begin with. Yeah. Was it new to them? I bet it was, right?
I mean, this was like 2015. So although Airbnb had been around and furnished rentals were not a new business in Washington, D.C., it was very much like a corporate rental type of market. It was very new to the realtors, and there were even realtors who had furnished rentals who just did like monthly rentals on Zillow who didn't even know that you could do something like this.
Yeah, very interesting. So I imagine how you acquire homes has evolved over the years.
Sure.
How is it for you today? How does that process look, and how do you know that a deal is right for you?
Well, I would say that. So what's so interesting is like our inventory growth, acquisition of homes, is still very organic. It's very reputation based in our two main markets. We definitely have realtors in both markets that refer clients to us often. We have a lot of the smaller like boutique developers in both markets also who like working with us because we have positioned ourselves as quite good at managing multifamily, which is a little bit different of, it's not hotel. It's not like large class A multifamily. It's like small boutique multifamily, which in a market we only had one of those, it would be impossible because you need too much. You wouldn't be able to support the labor that's needed. But when you have, 12, 15, 20 multifamily buildings, you're able to run them very efficiently. So that's really how we've done it. How do we know a deal is right for us? We are agnostic to the size of the property and more interested in the quality of the property and the quality of the investor or owner with their appetite to like maintain the property or improve the property or bring it to a standard, because the industry now is very much a high-end industry. People are expecting a much higher quality than IKEA furniture popped up in a place now. So we prefer to work with owners who will spend the money to bring their property up to par.
Are there listings that you had early on that you now wouldn't take, or you've delisted?
We have had a couple that we've decided to move on from that, to be fair, like even with the right investment, would it have made sense for the owner, a 2-bedroom condo in a part of the city or the part of the area that's not renting that great? Is it better for them to go back to an unfurnished rental because the return would take too long? Yeah. Are there buildings that maybe we would reconsider now? Also, probably yes. But they are part of like what we call like Sojourn 1.0, the legacy market, and those owners have seen great, consistent performance from us and have been willing to start improving things over time.
And that sort of, I guess, leads me to think that for you and your team and your partner, you're not necessarily taking a lead on executing the staging, the design. You're just sort of more kind of trying to pick partners that are willing to do that work themselves, right?
Actually, we're fine executing on we actually have a design consultant on staff here in our DC office, and we would call me the design consultant in our Tidewater region. But we have furnished whole houses. We have furnished buildings. We are currently consulting on a renovation on Capitol Hill. We just spoke with 2 prospective clients that will consult on the furnishing and probably some paint colors and light fixtures, things like that. So we absolutely, and we love to have an input on that. We think we have expertise on like the right beds to buy that, are not going to break in a year and a half, the right sofas and how they stand up to time, all the way down to like the kind of lamps people like at their desks when they're working. We are the experts in that, right? So we feel like we love working with owners who want our input on that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I love it. And I'd say you are, because you have the data there of what's booking versus what's not booking, right?
Right.
Do you then, do you see trends in the Washington area, across your portfolio then, at the moment where, okay, right now you've got to make sure you have X, Y, and Z in the property to make sure it books, or you've got to have a hot tub wherever you can have one. I can't imagine there's many hot tubs in Washington City, right. But you must have a view on that.
Yeah. Well, I think that for us, what we feel like is really important and what our guests seem to comment the most on is we're very engaged and prioritize the sensory experience of the guest. So from the it took us 3 years to pick out our linens, our consistent linens. We think like a great night's sleep is really important. And if you look at like the best of the best hotels, right, there's always the best linens in those places, right? You never really leave a 5-star hotel and think my neck hurts from sleeping on this bed, right? Or these sheets were so hot all night. So we've prioritized like the sensory experience. So we have, studios in DuPont Circle that maybe were built in like 1920 that's maybe still have parquet floors, but have great beds and wonderful sofas and great soaps in the shower, great water pressure in the shower. And people really appreciate that. I also think being the best at cleaning is really important, right? And so we have a very robust cleaning program, and we keep our cleaners are a part of Sojourn. They're empowered to continue building their small business inside of Sojourn. And so those to me feel like the things that are the most important to guests these days, right? In an urban market, I think, in like when you get out into like the vacation markets, experience might, like this whole idea of experiential stay might be more important, right? Or as important as that inside experience. But in a market like DC, where people aren't really coming for Sojourn to plan an experiential stay for them, they're coming to like see monuments or have really important meetings. But at the end of the day, they want to come home to like a well-regulated temperature, a great place to sit down, everything they need in the kitchen, and a good night's sleep.
I really like the way you describe it as prioritizing the sensory experience. Mm-hmm. And what I'm also hearing is a real focus on just doing the simple things really, really well, and ensuring that the quality bar is super high. We talked about how you were a bartender in your first role. Full disclosure, I was a waiter. So I guess, who would have been tipping who out? Would we have been enemies or friends? Who knows? It depends what restaurant you're in as to how friendly you were. But I would say that's the most important job I ever did, because I think that's where I got my foundation of how you treat a customer. Do you think the things you focused on there, do you think you're heavily influenced by that experience?
Yeah. So, I worked in hospitality like settings for a long time, and I probably knew this going into the Old Ebbitt and why I was a good fit, but like the Old Ebbitt always told you like what we can do and not what we can't do. And it's as simple as like, can I have a Sprite? And the answer is like, we have 7-Up. Is that okay? Like no, we don't have Sprite, right? And so I try to take that value and like bring it into everything we do at Sojourn, right? And that to me is like really the baseline of great hospitality, is like finding ways that to me is number one. And the other thing is like delivering before someone knows they need something. Right. So what you're saying was like that sensory experience, the good night's sleep. It's like all of those things are there. None of that has to be asked for. Right. And if we're consistent with that and across our portfolio, then when guests do ask for things, or like we pick up on it's a birthday or something, we have the bandwidth to take care of it, because we're not dealing with like, these pillows are terrible, can you bring us something different, right? Or, oh, the shampoo bottle is empty, can you bring us another one, right? These things are standard practice across our portfolio. We don't skimp on like making sure they have enough shampoo for their stay, right? And the Old Ebbitt, like they never told us we can only bring 2 bottles of vodka for our shifts, right? There were 5, because like a cold shaken martini delivered it almost instantly was much more important than like that quarter bottle of vodka that, might be downstairs. And that's how I feel like about the experience of being in the homes, right? It's like, is it worth it to not provide great shampoo for someone, or great body wash, or a nice bottle of hand lotion, in the bathroom?
I like the concept, delivering ahead of time. I think that's smart, because one of the hardest things about the industry is that it's not a hotel. The reception's not downstairs. You can't run things up to the room very, very quickly. But with that in mind, clearly you have a luxury product and a product that you want to make sure gets good reviews from guests. So how do you deal with that, like the additional concierge type service that people might want?
Well, that's a great question. And actually, when I was writing about this morning was like, how do we deliver, the buzzword now, the unreasonable hospitality or exceptional hospitality in a disparate environment, right? It's not so easy. And especially for a company like ours, that's like, we have 150 square foot studios and 3,500 square foot homes, right? So it's like, there really is, you can misfire if you're not doing it right. And so one of the things we're building around here is like a lot of automation in our hospitality, meaning not like using tech to deliver that hospitality, but using tech to deliver our humans, right? The big houses, the 6-bedroom house on Capitol Hill with the rooftop deck always gets a pre-arrival inspection, right? We always make sure the gas is working to the fire pit on the roof and the hammock is clean and there's wine and chocolates and coffees downstairs for them when they arrive. But the studios who have a dedicated cleaner maybe are using tech to deliver the inspection to us, right? That we're checking right away. Okay, it's 200 square feet. We want a picture of like the oven, the soaps, the towels, maybe the sofa bed linens, right? These 10 things. So like using tech for our humans instead of like tech to replace everything. And that's really what Dunsey and I believe is like, we're a hospitality company powered by tech, not a tech company trying to do hospitality. And so we're working really hard on like software solutions right now on those kind of things, right? Automation on like, our hospitality assistants on the ground, they'll know for the month how many pre-arrivals they have, how much we need for gift baskets and welcome gifts, those kinds of things. And then having someone in the background that's dealing with those inspections of the smaller units.
Very interesting. What do you think is the thing that you deliver to your guests that impresses them the most?
I think the sense of urgency in our service, like the response time, the delivery time. We're not opposed to using like the gig economy to get things delivered at 11 o'clock at night instead of making them wait until 9:30 the next morning, right? If it's like they're out of dishwasher pods, just send them, right? So that they're there hanging on their door in the morning or, it's just, we prioritize delivering results very quickly to people.
I love that. How do you do that? Do you keep your team lean and do you outsource a lot, or have you got or do you have a lot of people on staff who can take that message forward?
Yeah. So we have I think we have a good sized company, like internal actual employees, but I think I said at the beginning, like our cleaners are very invested in like our mission. They in general only work with us because we're so busy, and we really do keep them busy and we believe in paying them really well. And so our cleaners are not opposed to going and taking care of things for us. We also, our app, our guest app, our cleaners all have it on their phones so they can see check-in and check-outs. But what's something really interesting that we allow them to see is guest communication. So a lot of them take a lot of pride in what that guest has to say at arrival, right? It's like, sometimes someone will tell us the blow dryer is missing. And by the time the customer service team sees it, one of our cleaners is on the way with a blow dryer because they really do take a lot of pride in like the product so it's really about building the culture, right? Of like, we are not here to just like make a bunch of money. We're not here to just book as many rooms as possible. We're here to like deliver exceptional experience to people. And when we deliver an exceptional experience, the results are we book more and make more money for our investors and our owners.
I like what you said there about building a culture. And I agree with you, by the way, about your cleaners. They are your most important member of staff. They're your eyes and your ears, right? It's the most important role absolutely. You can play in a short-term rental business, I think. So if you get that right, and I was speaking to a property manager just yesterday who's now at 100 listings and feels like now it's time to hire a cleaning team and do that instead of outsourcing it. And I agree. I think that's a huge way to ensure standards are maintained. And also, again, if everyone's on point with this culture, it means that you don't have anybody not hitting those standards, or at least that everyone knows what the standards are they should be hitting, right? Even if they themselves aren't hitting them.
Yeah. And the people that come on that just want to like collect money, like it shows themselves right. It shows themselves very quickly, right? We're able to pick up on that very quickly that like they, because our other cleaners who are around are like, they'll take pride in a product, someone else's product not being delivered, right? So our cleaners have all been with us a very long time.
We talk about hospitality and service, and it's a service business, and I love the way you guys think about it. What's your view on whether it's possible for a company to scale that nationally?
Yeah.
Globally. Like, it's such a local game, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't have a great answer yet for that either. I think a lot about it. I think there's like a really interesting thing. Like, you could take a couple like higher end units in another market and probably run them with like a cleaner and a handyman, like an outsourced cleaner and handyman. Let's say like 4 houses, 10 states away. But like, once you get to a certain number, you really do need someone on the ground, like, because you can't, you'll overwhelm the team you have, or maybe you bring a second team on, but there's no one there coaching that team. Right. And so I find it to be an interesting question, and I don't have a perfect answer. Like, I think you could probably, like I said, run a couple with a great cleaner somewhere. But how you scale in a market that doesn't have someone there building the culture, right? And again, I go back to that culture word, right? Like, then you can really lose sight of quality very quickly, right? And it's like, then you become totally reliant on like tech to see if things are going right. And that takes away from like who we are. So, scaling it nationally could mean like smaller portfolios that are already existing, bringing them in as Sojourn portfolios, and then having that owner or someone who understands Sojourn and can work for Sojourn running that show out there. But I would be very mindful about it. We do have some like homes in markets that are not directly right next to our main markets, but there's only a few, and we're very picky about them. And we understand the challenge that could come if we're not involved.
And you lose your local advantage suddenly, right? Understanding the nuance of your market and your guest personas as well, because that takes a lot of work, right? I'd imagine you spend a lot of time working out who your ideal guest is in the markets you work in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me, you guys are, I think, how did you describe it? You're a software-enabled hospitality business? Was that how you?
I think we're a hospitality company that's, powered by tech.
Powered by technology. So tell me, what is the first Chrome tab or app you open on your phone in the morning to help you run your business?
So, Guesty is the first thing we open in the morning. Dunsey and I actually were independently with Guesty from 2015, 2016 on. So we've been with them a really long time. And that is like the unified inbox, right? We're seeing everything that's going on, all the guest messages that are coming in, reservation requests, all of that. So really the first thing that we look at in the morning. And then we have operational software. So we currently use a software called Buildium, which is much more traditional property management software than most people in vacation rentals are not using. But because we are a hybrid company and we do a lot of direct leasing, right? We need a traditional leasing / operational software. We use Buildium's task management. We're currently also transitioning a lot of our task management to Boom, which is a newer software company. Really interesting AI. This is kind of what I talked about earlier in our call, was like talking about automating some of the things that we want to do instead of having to like build out these tasks. Like, okay, if this house books, then we do this. Like, Boom's helping us automate a lot of those things. And then our CS team, the first thing they're opening is Guesty. And then they're actually one of the next tabs is Superhog, because that is an audit that we do every morning and every evening. So it actually starts right away, first thing in the morning.
And do you find that there is enough cohesion in the way you can build out your tech stack as a short-term rental operator? Do you think it does? Generally, does it do what you want it to do, or is it hard to put that together?
It's a bit disparate. Again, just like operating properties out in the cities, it's disparate, as is the tech stack. We have found it to be difficult because we are more complicated, right? we're talking about knowing your client, right? In DC and in Tidewater, both markets are very seasonal, and we don't shut down when the beach season is over, right? We keep going. And so we need to be able to target corporate renters, construction companies that have big projects in the area, traveling physicians, all kinds of things like this. We have to do that. So we needed, and we also have leasing is an entire different regulatory environment, right? Doing actual like leasing. In some states, you have to have a real estate brokerage. In Washington, D.C., you have a lot of documents that have to be signed. So we have had to run two softwares right next to each other since we started, right? One is like our traditional leasing and software, so leasing and accounting software, and then Guesty, our like short-term rental software. It has not been easy. We've done it all the way to 350 listings, but we are actively looking to build some type of our own connections to these pieces of software that we're using.
There comes a point, doesn't there, when you hit a certain point in your growth, right, where you do need to take more control. I can see that, and 350 is a lot of properties. You've seen the industry grow and change a lot over the last few years.
Yes.
If you knew what you knew now when you started, would you start and do it all again?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun being a part of like this very young industry of rogue operators. I mean, you've been to the conferences, right? We're quite a mixed lot of people. I love hospitality. I love the idea of human hospitality. I really believe that like our industry will remain like relevant when it comes to humans because you can't deliver exceptional service without it. And so I've had a really good time learning how to build a company because like I said, I was a bartender, right? So I wasn't naturally like an executive of a company, but I did have like hospitality, like running through my blood, and I did have an appetite for fun. And I think this industry has been fun. It's been super fun. And I have made so many friends and I've learned so much. So I would absolutely do this all again.
Yeah. And I'm not surprised to hear you say that. Actually, you do always seem like you're enjoying it. You present as a very relaxed person as well. Is that true? Are you a control freak, or do you find it easy to delegate and outsource things?
I'm a neurotic control freak. Said live to you. But I am learning about letting go and I've spent a lot of time trying to learn recently about really putting the right people in the right seats, because if you do that, you're able to let go and delegate. So Dunsey and I have spent a lot of time on that recently. Like we have great people working here, but are they in the right seats, right? Should they be, because everyone that works for us is like so dedicated and so honest and so excited. And they all love the idea of hospitality, which we find to be the most important thing. It's like, but are they exactly where they belong? Should they be working in customer service, or should they be delivering on maintenance because they have a better sense of urgency to get things done, or right? So we've spent a lot of time on that recently, and we really do feel like we've got some people in the right seats. We're very excited about that. Yeah. So I think that probably answers your question.
It does. And it's how we talk as well as at Superhog, is to talk about are people in the right seat at the bus. It's so important.
Yeah.
350 is a lot of properties. So clearly you've had to build out a team, and I'm sure you've at some points let go of certain things and maybe pulled them back and let go of them again, as part of that growth. What's your advice out there to other property managers who look at that and go, you know what, we're at 50, but we want to keep going. We want to keep scaling. For us, we do want to be in the multiple hundreds. What's the one piece of advice you can give?
You don't have to say yes to everything, to every product that comes your way. I think I definitely, along the way, have taken product we shouldn't have taken that was really draining on our staff, right? You get one property that the maintenance is not being taken care of on, and you could have a tech over there every day. So you don't have to say yes to everything. And I think in the beginning, I was very apt to say yes to everything because I wanted to like get our name out there and get some, but there was some along the way for sure some properties we probably shouldn't have taken.
I love that advice. And once you've said yes to the deal, it's really difficult to extract yourself from it, right? Like that is incredibly painful.
Very painful.
But something you think, do you think you make less of those mistakes now as you're further on?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Would you have a team of people who go and pick the properties, or is that something that you try and keep to being something that you do?
Currently, it is a lot of Dunsey and I still going out and seeing the properties, but we do have some people on the team. We have a great onboarding person now. We have a great head of sales and head of leasing that go out and check out properties for us. One of the director people on our team went and checked out a multifamily this week. So yeah, we're growing, and we're very much open to delegating that because we think the people that are in the right seats now really understand the quality of the product we're looking for and the results we can deliver.
Let's talk about midterm rentals. That's a really interesting answer, by the way. Let's talk about midterm rentals. Is that something that's grown in importance for your business, or was it like that from day one?
It's always been like that for us, but it's gotten even more important because of the regulatory environment in Washington, D.C. and in Tidewater. The regulatory environment in DC is very, very strict. And it's basically like, it has to be a primary residence in order to do this. So your multifamilies and your investment type portfolios, they're not getting short. They can't do under 30 days any longer. So we were well positioned for the regulation to roll out because we were already doing this and building a total, like a really robust sales funnel of people interested in renting for month or longer stays. And this is a very transient market, as is Tidewater. Tidewater is a very transient military market, and this is a very transient political market. So there's always a need for midterm temporary housing here.
I imagine you had a lot of people checking out of places last week after the campaigns were done, right?
Usually October is like the best time of year for us here, but every 4 years in October, it's the worst. No one's moving, no one's coming, no one's doing, and also the Congress is out campaigning. So we're like completely empty. And then all of a sudden this like turn comes. And now we've gotten so many calls this week for monthly housing, right? But we were ready. Like our name is out there. It's like, you can come to us for and it's not just monthly, like we want to be flexible, right? So a lot of people need like flexible terms, right? They can't be locked into annual leases. And that's what makes us really unique with what we do, is that we believe in like really flexible terms. And that has been very important to what we've built in the midterm world as well. Some construction companies that are like, listen, we don't know if this is going to keep going. So we need to know every 2 weeks if we can give you notice. And we work with people on that. Yeah.
It actually ties into what I was going to ask you next, which was, let's go back to this idea of being local, being known in your market. To get to be where these deals are happening, you can't be using OTAs, I guess. It's a lot of this is built on your local reputation, correct?
I think it's both. So there's a lot of corporate like OTAs or midterm rental type OTAs being built. There's, obviously Airbnb has their own like kind of funnel for 30-day plus stays. There's a lot of the companies that, pre-COVID were building these like rental arbitrage companies that have actually become robust platforms like Blue Ground. They only do 30 plus day stays. And then a lot of the big corporations have dedicated like platforms that their employees book on. So you need to be a part of that. You need to be out there involved in the corporate housing world and learning what those platforms are. And then, yes, there's also the local sales one that you do not want to miss out on, right? And that is your industry nearby. And for Washington, D.C., it's the federal government. For Norfolk, it's the military, right? You need to be plugged in and be a trusted and reliable source for them.
Especially where the military is concerned. I imagine trusted relationships certainly matter.
Absolutely.
That one.
Yeah.
Which one's been harder to break? Is it the short term or is it the midterm, or have the two kind of grown side by side?
They've grown side by side. I'd say the midterm is more work, more relationships, more networking, more building longer term relationships, where the short term stuff is like coming through a pretty robust source of traffic, right? The OTAs have the traffic, but we've also worked really hard these last 2 years on like the direct side of our business. And that's been a big lift for us, but we're starting to see a big return on it. So we're in our own way, we're becoming somewhat of our own OTA, right? We have a lot of people that come straight to Sojourn now because of our reputation, because of our flexible terms, right? So those are the reasons that our traffic is now coming our way. We work with Host AI to build the types of like landing pages based on search for people to book on, right? So driving them, and also they really emphasize the local market too. So when you go to one of our Host AI pages, it talks about like booking with a local provider, which is, that's exciting for people. I think people do like supporting local businesses. So you can get, we're a sizable property management company now in this space, but we still maintain a very local feel because of that.
Yeah, you're in a really good spot, right? Because you've got enough inventory to give so much choice in the booking process, but you're very tied to the markets you work in. So I can see how you can really use that local to your advantage. And I agree, it's sort of doing what the OTA can't do because they're all over, right? So if they're all over the world, you can really dominate and make your blogs and your content all about local. I think that's very, very
and
cool.
That's how you drive direct bookings, right? It's being like a local, when people are searching, like, and there has been, this is interesting that you asked about the national strategy earlier. I think there has been some national strategy that has made the national companies not look great, even the good ones, right? Maybe people are a bit more scared to book with like this national company because it's like, there's been some struggles in that expansion world, but being like a bigger company, but also having like a really local presence, like, and a commitment to that local presence gives people a lot more confidence in the direct booking.
Are you STR for life, or do you have an exit strategy?
That's a great, I get asked that question a lot right now. I'm STR for now. I don't know if like I want to build something and have it forever and hire the right people to run it and be a part of like the brand. I certainly love this company. I love building it. I love the great reviews. I love being a top performer. We maintain like almost a 4.8 rating with like the amount of listings we have. It's very difficult. I love the relationship building. Washington, D.C. is going through a big change right now. And so there's all these new relationships to build. And I've been having like a great time the last couple of weeks, like getting to know the new people that are coming and, from all the different walks of life they're coming from. So my exit strategy might just be that I keep Sojourn, I grow it into other markets, and then the right people are in the right seats running it.
Thank you. Good answer. Yeah. Tell me, it's a stressful industry. What do you do to forget about work and blow off steam?
That's a good question. I'm pretty intensely working these days. I do have a robust Pilates schedule where you cannot have your phone in the studio with you because you would get yourselves hurt. I have two really awesome toy poodles, one who is currently sitting on my lap during this talk, who give me a lot of relief and a lot of joy. And we try to travel, like we try to spend a lot of time with our friends traveling, right? We're constantly like pinging groups of friends and finding the next place. We were just in Greece for a wedding, but we all went for like a week instead of just, a quick trip. And that was amazing. And those are like the things that I find to be very relaxing. And then I also have the most perfect 6-year-old niece and 3-year-old nephew that you've ever seen. And so they also do not allow you to have your phone during playtime. They will hide it from you so that you can be fully focused. So I just think it's really like keeping it simple these days to stay relaxed. It's like enjoying your time with your friends and family, taking care of your like physical and mental health. And then I think if I didn't enjoy what I was doing, maybe I wouldn't be able to work so much. So I'm trying to keep it simple, to be honest.
I like that answer. And I assume that over the years and as the business has grown, you've found it easier to get away from the phone?
I would say that Dunsi would tell you that no, I've not found it easier. But I do believe I've found it easier. We have some very, very good managers in place now. And I find that like some nights I'll put my phone down for a few hours, and that's very surprising to, I think, my husband, my business partner. And so I know that I've backed off a little bit, and as we continue to grow, that I'll be able to like put the phone down a little bit more. It's been down this whole 46 minutes, just so you know.
Yeah, there you go. 46 minutes and counting.
Right.
Yeah, desperate to pick it up.
Not at all. I haven't thought about this. Has been so great. I haven't even thought about picking up the phone.
Amazing. Nicole, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us. We really appreciate it.